So I am recording this on our Teams channel, and here's my presentation. I'm going to talk super fast because I've already done this once. It came out to 20 minutes. I'm going to try to condense it and do it more like in about 12. So get ready for my really quick presentation. And now I'm going to share my screen with you. Okay, this is the campaign that I did for Utah Valley University Library. The objective of this, as we got into it, here's an overview. I'm working with the library directors, and our desire is to create an awareness campaign about the current library services. We've got a really great building here, but statistically it is underused by the students, and there's a lot of services in person, chats, and online that are available that the students just don't know about and they just don't use. These are the stakeholders in the library, as Leslie and Kim are the director and assistant director of the library. We had a kickoff meeting. Our initial kickoff meeting had about 8 people. This is a screenshot from a follow-up meeting. But in the kickoff meeting, we always jump as a team right into answering the why, what, who, and when questions. I will even typically sometimes send this creative brief out to the client before they come to the meeting so that they can have the answers to these questions also in their mind. So we have a pretty robust discussion in the kickoff meeting about what we are trying to accomplish. From that meeting, I asked the library directors to supply me with a list of services. They came back with such a long list, I had them highlight the top 5 services that they wanted to highlight. I have students available to me, so I put together an initial focus group of 5 students, and I ask them questions like, what services do you use? Have you ever done this? Have you ever done this at the library, and so forth. You can read through the questions there and you can read through their responses, but more often than not, their responses all included, and wow, I didn't know that I could do that at the library. And if you can see, there are juniors and seniors in this bunch, and so there's a lot of things that we need to make them aware of. We also have institutional research available to us at the university, and so I reached out to some of the research assistants, and they put together some deeper ethnography questions. They put together a whole ethnography and produced some one-on-one interviews. Unfortunately, I think they only did 4 in the end, but basically their recommendations from that and the questions that they crafted and asked and had answered very much were in alignment with the focus groups that I put together. And so the conclusion is that we need to make the students more aware of those resources, and we also need to figure out how to humanize the librarians and make them available. I also produced some personas based on what I know some of the typical students are here at the university. And you can pause and read through some of the descriptions of those personas, ending with the senior who in behavioral science is somebody that should heavily be using the library and its research materials, and except she more often than not would just turn to Google. And this is based on one of my best friends that just has not used the library resources very frequently at all, and she is 1 semester away from graduating. After looking at all of that, to just go back to the design criteria, the how are we going to get all of this messaging out? There's a bullet pointed list right there of all of the different channels that we currently advertise in and where we thought it might be the most effective to reach out to some of those students. Getting into the what if stage, I set up a brainstorming session. I invited 12 people, 10 were able to attend. I got prepared with it, with all of the different things that I needed, the notes that I had taken from some kind of other conversations and design sprints that I had done with another group, the games that we decided to play in this one, the paperclip game, things that you shouldn't do in the library, and name that campaign. I recorded the entire session. It was about a 2-hour brainstorm. I was really grateful that everyone was willing to meet in a social distance circumstance for this, and you can I have cut that into 12-minute super fast highlights, and you can watch all of that here. But the whole objective of this brainstorm was, in the end, to feel like we had gathered some concepts that we wanted to build on. We took and we divided all of those concepts from the Name That Campaign game, and we grouped them into, these sound like a continuation of the Find It Here campaign that has been presently running. These are some of the inspirational and aspirational statements. I'm wondering if that was the direction that we should use to reach students. But this was really the one that everybody really resonated with, and it might have just been the mood that we were in, but we really wanted to explore more humor. Then the next was to take and choose put them into groups of 3, choose one of the favorite campaigns, and try to help develop it out, whether it's with taglines and slogans or doodles, visualizing how you would visualize it. I wanted to just pull as much creative information out of this group as I possibly could. So then I took all of that work and put it into 4 different napkin sketches. This is the one that we developed and kind of laughed about the most during brainstorming. For the shock value that we do it in the library, because the library directors have seriously caught people doing it in the library, and so they really got a kick out of this, quite frankly. This is another napkin pitch. This is just some doodles. We have a very extensive icon library here at the university, and we thought that we would develop customized icons to all of the different services, and then design the slogan in a very logo-esque kind of treatment that would just really be highlighted on everything. This is based on that reverse psychology, the things that you shouldn't do in the library. And this is also a kind of a last minute one that was also based on reverse psychology. But in taking it to a couple people, they just thought, you know what, you don't even need the strike through. You just need the negative, and people are going to figure out. The minute you tell the students, don't read this, that's exactly what they're going to do. So I think it was a pretty effective what if phase. Everyone really enjoyed and appreciated. I got a lot of input and feedback on those napkin pitches. We also had another meeting aside from the brainstorm and everything, where we gathered the web developers, the web designers, and the library owners of the library website, because it drastically needs a redesign right now. It just doesn't have a very inviting and friendly interface on the homepage. They have had a lot of feedback that you can really get tangled up in what direction to go. So moving on to the what works. So I took these napkin pitches. I have about 12 designers that come to a weekly meeting that I have. And so we had a very robust conversation about these 4 napkin pitches. And so in that conversation, I asked these questions. Is it funny? Is it offensive? Rank it in order of your favorite. Is the concept expandable? Would this work well on social media? And do you feel that it is getting the library messaging across? This is essentially how the group of designers, who are, by the way, probably mostly students or recent graduates. And so I think this is still very, very much in their lane. But they actually, and I told them not to judge them on design yet, but just on concept. And I don't know that that totally came across in their responses. Because number 1, I think, is the best designed as of right now. But this is how they initially ranked them. Then I went out with a second assumption testing group of going back to the library directors, and they kind of reversed the order of those. They felt like it might really be fun to just jump out with that shock value, but they were going to kind of wait and see. Then I took it to the design phase, and I bumped up the design to this. And then I bumped up the design to this. This is still keeps being seen and commented on as the safest way to go. And then this was the one, our university color is green, and so we really try to get that dark green in some way in just about everything we design. So at that point, I was going to take those 3 different campaign ideas and create a Qualtrics survey, but the holiday happened. COVID happened that even further shut down the university for a little while, and that was delayed in its process. So it was an effective what works phase. So we did design a Qualtrics survey and get a focus group, and those are still happening during the month of December related to aspects of the website that we felt like we need to improve. Moving on to the what wows. To review, here are the 3 different directions. I went back with the designed directions, the more tightly designed directions, back to get the feedback of the stakeholders. And with these designed out a little bit more solidly, they actually flipped their impression on these, and they thought that they could build more deeply if they went with the icon one, because there's just only so much you can show a student with a shocked look on their face. And if we stuck with these icons, they felt that they could break it out and have individual things pushed to individual services, use the icons on the website, and we would still try to move forward with that do it in the library. I also went out to 8 different students, not the design group, but I individually went out to 8 students, and in talking to them one-on-one, and asking some of the very similar questions I did to the first group, this is the way that those students actually ranked them, which I was surprised. They all admitted that they thought that numbers 2 and 3 were very funny and dynamic, but they all expressed concerns that in some level they would offend somebody, and they didn't want to do that, even though they said they weren't offended themselves. So although I had permission from the library directors to still take those 3 out and get a broader review and a broader Qualtrics survey put together, my AVP in marketing and communications shut it down. He is a very safe, plays on the safe side all of the time, and he is just concerned about the shock value of the Do It in the Library campaign. So his recommendation, which I unfortunately have to listen to, is just to run forward with this campaign to begin with. And we will hang on to those other campaigns. If this Do It in the Library campaign strings to be a multiple year campaign, we will probably see if we can refresh the campaign with some of that other stuff as we go along. It was a successful What Works phase. That is the end of my presentation. From this stage, I am finalizing I am creating a few additional icons. You can see some of them there, repeat on that, that are specific to the different services. I am working with a copywriter. We are breaking it out to have individual text specific to some of the services that they want, and then we will design for this is the board format of all of the digital signage that goes around campus. It's also the board format size to supply the library with Insta stories. We will do some square formats for the stories for their posts and their Instagram, and some horizontal arrangements for their posts on Facebook that will be primarily image driven. But there's a lot of just little one-off deliverables that we will now be working with to create everything that they can do to run forward with this campaign. George, who was in the original brainstorm, is in the marketing department, and he will also help me with boosting some of this through their social channels, where we can try to do some testing and tracking to see how effectively this is actually making a difference. I have asked library directors to come up with some type of matrix or statistical data on where they feel that they are right now, so that in 4 months and 6 months and a year, we can see if we have moved the measure at all on usage of some of the library services. So that is where we are right now. I have really appreciated this class. I have felt it to be very, very effective. I don't know that I chose a campaign or a project that really, really went as deeply as some of your other projects did, but I have really, really appreciated all of the learning. And I know that there will be other projects and opportunities where we can go into more depth. I did find that the what if and the what is phase, it was really effective for me to dive a lot deeper. As a designer, I've always had a tendency to just jump right into what should I make this look like. But it was really great for me to understand a little bit more where they are now, who their audience is, where they need to go, and a lot more audience response at the end as well. So I've found the class and the things in this class to be quite effective, and I've really enjoyed it. So, and I've enjoyed seeing what everybody else is working on. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and Merry Christmas.